Would you look at this, a free agent frenzy. So many players at big clubs and big names find themselves in the final year of their contract, and the list speaks for itself as you just go through it. But look at that frightening forward line. You can list every single player on that, and we could be in for quite a bumper transfer window next summer. Sid, is this a byproduct of the pandemic and what COVID's done? It's affected everybody, but not least the football world.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Obviously, it's not the only explanation, but it's a very big part of it. And of course, this is based on the economics. It's based on the fact that there are lots of very, very good players who, in some cases, are stuck by the fact that their salaries are bigger than the market can currently assimilate. In some cases, that's because those salaries just are too big. In others, it's because those players have got older. In others, it's because those players have become less attractive. But all of those things come together to mean that there are players on the kind of salaries that other clubs don't want to pay, so there isn't an obvious place for them to go. There are all sorts of other reasons for this as well, though. You have players that are very, very well aware of their potential market and would rather that all of the potential money from a transfer goes to them rather than to their club. And so therefore they hold on. And why do they hold on? Because they are confident that by next summer or even before that they will be in a position to be able to choose their destination. And so players like Mbappe, players like Haaland believe, well, I can wait, and I can wait for exactly the right clubs to emerge. What that does, of course, is it alters the way that those clubs behave. The desperation to get players onto new deals, the willingness of clubs elsewhere to think, well, I'll wait a year. I don't need to get this player now. I don't need to spend this money now because in a year's time I can get him cheaper. And all of these things come together. And I suppose like any marketplace, a lot of it is based on the confidence of the actors within that marketplace, whether that's the selling club, the buying club, or in particular the player themselves.
Ali, what about the clubs that do have the money right now? Should they try and take advantage of this situation?
Yes, but you have to have a plan in place regardless. You cannot fall in love with the list of players and say, well, I'm going to, in some ways, redirect my plans, whatever is it that I wanted to do with my club, because of these names that are available to you. Don't fall into that trap. Don't fall into the trap of thinking, I'm the club and I'm the coach that is going to turn Isco's career around. Don't do that, okay? And don't believe that you're the guy who somehow is going to get the very best of Gareth Bale in his last couple of years as a professional. Don't fall into that trap. You have to be very aware as to what is it that your club identity and policy is, and then if those players that are available to you match what you want to do with that identity and what you want to do with your transfer policy, then it becomes a match made in heaven. Until then, I don't think you force the market or you force the bar simply because this guy all of a sudden became readily available. There are reasons as to why some of these players are available. Isco is available because he hasn't been playing all that great. There are names in that list that are available to you because they have not been good over the last couple of seasons.
Oh, what a summer transfer window we could be in for next year, though, Stevie, with all those names in the mix.
Well, as quiet as it's been recently, it could be exactly what you said. There could be an explosion. And at the end of the day, we've pulled out the biggest names on that list. But by this time next year, there could be double that, as far as great players are concerned. So it's kind of a toss of a coin which side you're on, because from a player's point of view, it seems to be ideal because they're in charge, they can pick and choose. But it's also a lot of the clubs, particularly the ones with money, they're also in a fantastic place because they can pick and choose. Because is the competition going to be there next year? Yes, everybody around the world seems to be getting back to some sort of normality, but we're still a long way off it. And the majority of clubs, even this time next year, are not going to have as much money as they probably normally would. So it's going to be the chosen few that have money now and will accumulate between now and then. And the rest, I'm afraid, are going to get left behind.
You talk about the clubs, those who do have money. And what about those who could capitalise, Sid? Because you're looking at this situation, why wouldn't the likes of PSG and Borussia Dortmund try and make some money now on Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe instead of letting them go for free next summer? Or in Mbappe's and Haaland's case, obviously there's the release clause, but a lot less than it could be.
Yeah, and of course we come back to what we were saying earlier about confidence, and it's about whether you're prepared to take that risk, how far you're prepared to push this, whether you think that, listen, by next summer we might have found a solution to this, or do we take this now? And this is, you know, this has always been the case in football, but I think with the pandemic is even more the case, because there are a lot of clubs without the money that, of course, you go into that final year of a player's contract and you know that you're 12 months away from that player leaving for free. So you think, do we accept a lower fee now because at least we're getting something? At least we're getting some sort of solution. Do we try and force that player's hand? But then does that player want to? Is that player confident that, let's say for argument's sake, you've got a great player and the only team that comes in for him, for argument's sake, is Manchester City. And that player doesn't necessarily want to go to City, but, well, City's pretty attractive, and you really push him because you're thinking, well, I want this 50 million now that I'm not going to get next summer. Does that player say, actually, you know what, I'm going to wait for Manchester United to come, or Real Madrid to come, or Barcelona to come, or whoever it may be? And I think that's where this is the situation we're in, and it's a situation that is applicable to all kinds of markets. It's about confidence. It's about the belief that the deal will appear. It's about the belief that the money will appear. And you know, you look at it in terms of players' wages, for example. Let's take Gareth Bale as an example. The amount of money that he's on at Real Madrid, he will not get anywhere else. But how long is he prepared to wait to see if he gets close to that? How low is he prepared to go before he moves on? How much does he want that money and hang on for a year at Real Madrid rather than maybe take less somewhere else? And this is the kind of balancing act that clubs and players and agents all over Europe are now faced with. And as you say, those clubs with money and those clubs with a financial muscle to be able to do this are looking at this now and thinking, you know what, if we move now, we get that player now, and we don't have to go through the auction next year because we go into a market now where we have an advantage that perhaps in 12 months' time we no longer have.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.